The Galactic Council had existed for 12,000 years. It was a gathering of the most powerful species in the known universe. Though with their crystal ships and mind-linking abilities, the Empire, whose warriors stood 8 feet tall and could crush metal with their bare hands. The Collective, a hive mind that spread across 300 worlds. These were the rulers of the galaxy. They had conquered, colonized, and controlled everything from the core worlds to the outer rim. When humanity first appeared on their sensors, the Council barely noticed. Earth was a tiny blue planet in a forgotten corner of the galaxy. The humans had only just learned to leave their own solar system. Their ships were slow. Their weapons were primitive. Their bodies were fragile compared to most species. The Council assigned humanity a classification of minimal threat and moved on to more important matters. But the ambassador had studied humanity. It had sent probes to observe them for decades. It had watched their history. It had seen their wars. And what it saw terrified the hive mind more than anything in 10,000 years of existence. "We must issue a warning," the ambassador announced during a council session. "Humanity must not be provoked." The general laughed. His deep voice echoed through the chamber like thunder. "Those soft creatures, they cannot even survive in vacuum without their suits. They sleep for a third of their lives. Their young take years to become functional. What could we possibly fear from them?" The representative tilted its crystalline head. "The rarely speaks without reason. Explain your concern." The ambassador's many eyes flickered as it accessed centuries of observation data. Humans are pursuit predators. On their world they would chase prey for days without rest. They do not stop. They do not give up. When wounded, they continue fighting. When outnumbered, they become more dangerous. They have survived ice ages, plagues, and disasters that would have ended lesser species. But that is not what concerns me. "Then what does?" the general demanded. "Their capacity for vengeance," the replied. "Humans remember. They hold grudges across generations. They will sacrifice everything for revenge. They will burn their own worlds to deny them to enemies. They will fight to the last individual even when victory is impossible. But most dangerous of all, they adapt. Every war makes them stronger. Every enemy teaches them new ways to kill." The council considered this, but the general dismissed it with a wave of his massive hand. "Words and fears, nothing more. They are primitive beings who have barely left their cradle. The galaxy has nothing to fear from humanity." A formal warning was issued to all species regardless. Do not provoke the humans. Do not attack their colonies. Do not harm their people. Let them expand peacefully into their small corner of space. For 50 years this fragile peace held. Humanity grew slowly. They established colonies on a dozen worlds. They traded with nearby species. They seemed content with their small piece of the galaxy. Some in the council began to believe they had been wrong. Then they made their mistake. They were a minor empire, but they were ambitious. They had watched humanity's expansion with jealousy. The colony world of New Eden sat on the border of their territory. It was rich in minerals. It had perfect conditions for agriculture, and it was defended by only a small human fleet. The emperor decided to take it. He believed the stories about humans were exaggerated. He believed the council warning was based on fear rather than fact. He sent his of 300 ships to conquer New Eden. The human defenders numbered only 20 ships. They were surrounded. The commander offered them a chance to surrender. The humans could leave and no one would be harmed. The human admiral, a woman named Sarah, responded with 6 words that would echo through galactic history. "Come and take it from us." The Battle of New Eden lasted 12 hours, the expected quick victory. Instead, they found something they had never encountered. The human ships did not retreat when damaged. They did not surrender when surrounded. Pilots with failing life support continued fighting. Ships with crippled engines rammed into enemy vessels. When the human flagship was breached, Admiral ordered it driven directly into the command ship. They won the battle, but they lost 97 ships defeating 20, And when they landed on New Eden, they found the colonists had not evacuated. Instead, they had armed themselves. Farmers carried hunting rifles. Teachers had made explosives. Children acted as messengers for resistance cells. The occupation of New Eden became a nightmare. Every street was a trap. Every building was a fortress. The colonists fought from homes and schools and hospitals. They fought with weapons designed for hunting animals. They fought with kitchen knives and farm tools. When they ran out of weapons, they fought with their hands. 3 months into the occupation, they had lost more soldiers on New Eden than in their previous 4 wars combined. But they had committed too much to retreat. The Emperor ordered more troops. He ordered harsher measures. He ordered examples to be made. They burned the city of Haven's Rest. 40,000 humans died in a single night. That was the moment everything changed. When news of the massacre reached Earth, something shifted in humanity. For generations, they had been peaceful explorers. They had wanted only to find their place in the galaxy, but they had awakened something older, something darker, something that had been sleeping since the ancient wars of there. Earth's government stopped arguing. Corporations stopped competing. Every resource, every factory, every scientist was directed toward a single purpose: war. In 6 months, humanity built a fleet of 2,000 ships, but these were not the slow cargo vessels they had used before. Human engineers had studied every species they had encountered. They had learned from shield technology. They had improved on weapon designs. They had adapted communication systems. And then they had added their own innovations. Human ships were faster than anything the galaxy had seen. Their weapons could punch through shields that had resisted attacks for centuries. Their tactics were unpredictable, combining strategies from thousands of years of human warfare. They learned of the fleet too late. The humans did not announce their attack. They did not issue warnings or demands. They simply appeared in space with their entire fleet and began systematic destruction of everything they found. Military bases were reduced to rubble. Shipyards were turned to debris. Supply lines were cut. Communications were jammed. The empire, which had conquered 20 species, found itself being dismantled in weeks. The Emperor sent desperate messages to the Galactic Council. He demanded intervention. He demanded protection. He reminded them of treaties and agreements. The ambassador replied with cold satisfaction. "We warned the galaxy. You chose not to listen." The general, who had dismissed humanity as weak, watched the battle reports with growing horror. Human tactics were unlike anything he had studied. They did not fight for territory or resources. They fought for revenge. They accepted losses that would break other species. They sacrificed ships to achieve objectives. Their attacks never stopped, never slowed, never gave the enemy time to regroup. Human marines landed on worlds. They did not occupy or conquer. They freed every slave. They destroyed every military facility. They burned every symbol of the empire. And then they left, moving to the next target. In 117 days, the empire ceased to exist. Not conquered, not occupied, simply gone. The emperor was captured and brought before the people of New Eden survivors. The children who had watched their parents die decided his fate. The galaxy watched in silence. Humanity did not stop with the. They sent messages to every species that had traded with the empire, every species that had ignored the massacre, every species that had profited from aggression. "We remember," the message said. "We remember who helped them. We remember who looked away. This is your only warning." The Galactic Council held an emergency session. The ambassador presented its analysis with grim certainty. Humanity has now demonstrated their capabilities. They built a war fleet from nothing in less than a year. They destroyed an empire in months. They show no interest in conquest, only in punishment. This makes them uniquely dangerous. An empire wants to expand. It can be negotiated with. It can be satisfied. Humanity wants justice. Justice, by their definition, has no limit. The general had lost his arrogance. What do? We do what we should have done from the beginning, the replied. We leave them alone. We trade with them fairly. We treat them with respect. And we pray they never have reason to remember us as enemies. New rules were established. Human space was marked as protected territory. No species could expand toward human borders without permission. Trade agreements with humanity were given highest priority, and in every academy and military school across the galaxy, a new subject was added to the curriculum: human psychology and history. Students learned about Thermopylae, where 300 humans held against thousands. They learned about Stalingrad, where humans fought building by building in frozen ruins. They learned about Vietnam, where farmers defeated a superpower. They studied human art that glorified sacrifice, human songs that celebrated defiance, human stories where the hero dies but never surrenders. The more the galaxy learned, the more they understood the warning. Humans were not strong individually. A warrior could defeat 10 human soldiers in direct combat. Humans were not intelligent in special ways. Scholars could process information faster than human scientists. Humans were not numerous. The collective contained trillions of minds. But humans were relentless. They were creative. They were loyal to their people in ways that logic. They would accept any cost, pay any price, endure any suffering to protect their own and punish those who harmed them. And they never, ever forgot. 50 years after the war, humanity had become one of the galaxy's great powers, not through conquest but through respect born from fear. They traded fairly. They honored agreements. They helped species in need. But every species remembered what happened when they were provoked. A philosopher wrote the definitive text on human nature. The final chapter contained a simple observation that became famous across the galaxy. Humanity asks only to be left in peace. They offer friendship freely and hold grudges eternally. They will share their technology, their art, their dreams, but they will never share mercy with those who harm them. The greatest wisdom in the galaxy is this: be humanity's friend or be nothing at all. The Galactic Council had warned everyone not to provoke humans. They had ignored that warning. Now they existed only in history records as a lesson for the universe. Humanity remembered the massacre of New Eden every year. They built monuments to the fallen. They told stories of Admiral's final charge, and they kept their fleet ready, watching the stars with patient eyes. The galaxy had learned its lesson, but humanity had learned something too. They knew now that peace was not given. It was earned through strength, and they would never again be caught unprepared. They would never again watch helplessly as their people died. The universe was vast and ancient and filled with powers beyond imagination. But humanity had found its place among the stars, not as conquerors or tyrants, but as something far more respected. Survivors, protectors, and when necessary, the galaxy's most terrifying force of vengeance. They had warned the galaxy, but it was too late for those who did not listen.